Right. Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? Audio check. Are you getting me? So yeah, this is a good opportunity for us to practice. Let's see. I'm trying to. Okay. So that could be your microphone, Chris. So it looks like Chris's microphone needs to be fixed so we can get him going. But I'm
Noted.
glad you guys are here today. Welcome in.
Okay.
And as Chris was saying, this is a
Mm-hmm.
practice tournament for next week, and it's a practice for
Okay, I
us
think
as
we should
well.
hear Chris now.
Yeah,
All right, Chris,
yeah, so
audio check.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
I fixed it.
we'll try it again. Welcome to the Daily Chess Musings YouTube channel. This is our practice event for the Eade Foundation Spring Scholastic Chess Classic. We are scheduled for a 7-round Blitz tournament today to make sure Jay Stallions and I understand everything that we need to know about Tornello before we run the big event next week. Let me turn it over to Jay Stallions.
Thanks, Chris. And I am Jay Stallings, and that is Chris Torres. Chris Torres is the Daily Chess Musings guru. He is always giving us wonderful and wise stories, and my camera's going a little crazy on me. Wonderful and wise stories about chess, and a great chess coach, and has wonderful camps that have up to 1,000 kids in them, including camps coming up this summer as well that will be open to have as many as even over 1,000 kids can be joining those camps. So those are free camps, and they have a different format than a lot of the camps you might go to, but a lot of play time for you guys to enjoy. So, in any case, this is our practice event for the Eade Foundation tournament next weekend. That's going to have a bunch of prizes for you to win, and that will have a nominal entry fee to help raise money for the Eade Foundation. Today's event is free so that you can practice on Tornello, and we can practice as tournament directors and as streamers to be ready for this event next weekend. So the way it's going to work today is we have three different sections. We have a over or 1,200 and over. We have a 600 to 1199, and then an under 600 section. And once I start the tournament, then it will tell you that you're going to be playing. And maybe you had a chance to watch the 4-minute video that walked you through Tornello. That's on the Tornello website. But it will pop up at the top of your screen that says that you are ready to play. And then once you're ready to play, you click the play now button. And when you click the play now button, that will take you into your game. Obviously, your opponent needs to have also clicked the play now button, and then off you go. So we will be monitoring the games from our side, making sure that everybody is getting their games going. And for you, you should be jumping in and playing your games as soon as that play now button is available. Once the games are finished, all the games in your section are finished for that round, then we'll pair the next round and get that started right away. So you might have to wait around for a little bit. In the meantime, while that's happening, Chris and I will be looking at some of the games going on, and we're not, and the games that have finished. We're not going to give away moves, So if you're playing, you can have your headphones on. We're not going to be saying live moves, but we'll be talking about things that have already happened and commenting on those. So, so I think this will be a great opportunity for us to practice today, right, Chris?
Absolutely. Shall we get going?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to jump into, on my side, the pairing program. All right, and looks like we have 7 players in the over 1,200. All right, Johannes, Anthony, Dan, Ved, Devin, and Caden. Oh, good, Caden. Glad you joined us at the last minute there. All right, so now I got to power up my side so I can get things started over here for everybody. Okay, so let's see. I am going to remove absent players permanently. So if they're not here, then they'll be dropped from this section of it. And the top seed, I'm going to do a random seed for the top board, guys. So the top board typically would flip a coin to find out what color the top seed is going to play, but I'm going to do random for right now.
Okay.
And then we don't need accelerated pairings. So, all right, we should be ready to get going in the over 1,200. So you should see your pairings there. Ved against Johannes, Anthony against Devin, Caden against Dan, and you can click on the Play Now button. You should be able to click that and get that going. So I'm going to run over to the 600 to 1199 and get those guys started.
Awesome. Yeah, so
right.
This is all the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff that Jay was talking about. In a Swiss-style tournament, obviously, you don't play the same person twice. Nobody gets eliminated. And you try, the pairings will try and pair you against somebody with the same score as you for each round. So in the first round, what they do is go by rating and then split the page in half and put it side by side for that section. Then after the first round, some players will have 1 win, and the pairing system will again split the group that has 1 win in half and then place them side by side, pairing them against each other. Some will have draws, they'll play each other, and some will have, who had losses in round 1, will be paired against each other, and so on and so forth as the tournament goes. Nobody is eliminated after losing, and this is the same style. It's a lot faster time control, but it's the same style tournament as we will be doing next week in the big event.
Yeah, a couple things to point out. First of all, you can turn us off. Turn off your audio, unplug your headphones if you want to focus on your game. I highly recommend it if you are really trying to stay focused. Also, because we have a 7-round tournament and some sections only have 6 players, you will play some players more than once. That's not going to happen next week in the big event, but you might get paired twice with the same player. Hopefully you'll be a different color. I hope.
Yeah. The tip about muting the stream is a good one. I did a simul with Jay's group a little while ago, and ended up doing that to really get myself focused. Because if you're using your brain to listen to what we're talking about, and we're interesting people, we're going to be sharing some fun chess stories and stuff, then you're distracting yourself from the job at hand, which is winning your game. So are all the sections up and going, Jay?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a game just to watch. We won't comment on the live moves, but I'll tell you which one we're watching. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm seeing that we have 1 player. Oh, maybe they just connected. I'm not sure, but looks like the games are off and running in all sections.
And like I said, this is a good training run for us as well. I will be faster at doing this next week.
Yeah, that's the whole idea here.
Figuring out. Okay,
Now,
here's round one. Oh, okay, got it. So I clicked on round one, and
a quick note: Ian Chess and Diced Knights. You guys, one of you needs to still hit the play now button so that you can start your game. And Sarvesh, I think you're waiting on Jose Cruz, who's not currently online. So hopefully Jose will be back soon. But Ian and Diced Knights, you guys need to click play now. Okay, great. You guys got started. Glad to see that. That is in the 600 to 1199. Just doing some maintenance here.
Sure.
Okay. Looks like other games are all started. Oh, good. Jacob Altamirano is on.
Yeah,
and that game is
everybody's good.
Well.
I have the ability to watch any of the games.
Yeah, just Jose Cruz not here yet. Sarvesh, sorry about that. Hopefully Jose will show up and get going. But if he doesn't, then you'll get the point by forfeit.
We'll go ahead and check in with Anthony West and Devin Kozakis. Let's see what's happening in their game.
Yeah, it's a good idea because it just ended, so we can actually review it without having to worry.
It already, yeah. All right, super. So let's go ahead and take a look. And I'm going to go ahead and call out I'll go ahead and call out the moves, and you can click along with us, Jay. And
okay, great.
And discuss with me as we go. So white played 1c4, which is the English opening, and black played c5.
Symmetrical. Yeah.
So we've got a symmetrical English. Oftentimes you do see e5 played against that, and that's like a reverse Sicilian. Then knight c3.
Now, Coach Chris, are the viewers able to see the chessboard on your screen?
They are able to see the chessboard on my screen. Let me go and double check my...
Just making sure.
Yeah, whoops, I just changed screens. I shouldn't do that. Let me check my OBS stream real fast and make sure that it's showing. Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, great.
So
glad to see it.
Yeah. So we've got c4, c5, knight c3, and then e6.
Okay.
Go ahead and comment anytime you want, Jay.
Yeah, good idea, e6, to try to support a d5 pawn push so that black can get that good control of the center.
And then white plays d3 as move 3.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
That's an interesting move. I'm not a terribly big fan of it's a slower pawn move. Doesn't develop a piece. And
he's gonna need to probably fianchetto that kingside bishop, right?
Absolutely.
There's nowhere else for it to go.
Absolutely. It looks, yeah, he's going to be controlling all the light squares. Let's see if he does that. He plays 4 knight f3 first.
Okay.
And then there's that d5 push that Jay was talking about. That was the purpose of the early e6. And then cx d5 makes sense, trading using your non-center pawn. And then black takes back with ex d5. So black has a space advantage, and white has a force advantage right now. 2 pieces developed versus 1, but black has more space. Anything you want to add about this position, Jay?
Yeah, I think we're running along some lines here that are familiar with the players, and so I think that d5 pawn is definitely something that white will try to target, and that usually goes along with a fianchettoed bishop. So white needs to fianchetto that bishop at g2, aim across the center towards that d5 pawn, if white wants to make some progress.
Yeah, let's see if that happens. And there you
Nice.
go, 6G3,
Very good.
and then knight F6. Okay, so they're even in development right now, but white is preparing to place the bishop in the house on that all important diagonal, the H1 to A8 diagonal. There it is, bishop
Yeah,
G2.
Coach Chris, one thing I'm thinking about is we might have to speed up our commentary because these guys will be ready for the next round before we know it. These games are
yeah, because this is
quick.
a blitz. I'll go a little bit faster then. We'll get to the more crucial moments. Then bishop E6, supporting D5. The bishop's got to go somewhere.
Right.
White castles, and then black plays H6.
Yeah, a little slow. I thought, are you going after? Are you going to break that pawn structure or not? But I guess he's being kind of conservative. So it's a blitz game, man. I might be throwing that pawn to H5 right away.
Yeah,
So,
or
but let's see
bishop
what
E7.
let's see what Devin has planned.
White goes bishop D2. There's bishop E7. And then bishop to E3. So bishop went to D2, and then bishop went to E3.
Oops, that hangs a piece.
And he misses it. B6, yeah.
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 So D4 picks up a piece, and Devin
nice pawn
didn't
fork.
quite catch that one.
Yeah. And then back to bishop D2. So he probably noticed. He probably noticed.
I think he did.
And then moved back. And then black plays queen D7. And then pawn to B3. That's a little peculiar in the fact that the bishop's already on D2. Bishop H3. Now this is a nice technique here by black to go after the fianchettoed bishop. If your opponent castles behind a bishop, then if you form this kind of battery, you can trade, and then the G2 square becomes a weakness. So
yeah, quick note here. All the games have finished in the over 1200 section. So I am going to pair the next round.
Great.
So these guys can get going. So good luck in round 2, guys, as we continue our commentary on that first round win by Devin. In that section, by the way, we have Johannes, Dan, and Devin had won their first round games. Ved, Caden, and Anthony are fighting back now.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to move on to the other sections and see if they are done yet. All right. Heading. I think I have to. Okay, there we go.
Yep. Like I said, Jay and I are practicing as well. You guys, this is a lot of fun for the chess players, I'm sure. But this really helps Jay and I learn how to use all these tools together. Doing the live broadcast, doing the pairings, switching screens, all this stuff is a little bit tricky. Some of these big streamers online make it look easy, but it's a little bit tricky for sure. So 13 knight h4. I'm not a huge fan of that move because the bishop was already supported by the king, and it's moving a knight to the rim. And if you look at where that knight can actually go, there's, it's not going to go to f5. It's not going to go to g6. And now black can actually play at some point a couple different, they can maybe move their knight out of the way on f6 and threaten to expose black's king with the bishop takes h4 or a pawn g5 hitting it. So I'm just really not a fan of moving knight f3 to h4 there. That was a mistake.
Yeah. And then on the next move, we're going to see Devin. I think he might capture too early on this. I think, like you're saying, he should have, kept the tension open and moved his knight out, open up the attack on the knight on h4. So I went ahead to black's move, black's 13th move.
And that's
And
yeah, bishop takes g2. It makes good fundamental sense, but there was a little nuance there. You could have thrown in knight g4 ahead of time.
well, maybe not knight g4 because that hangs your bishop, but knight
yes,
h5.
yes.
Maybe knight h5 or even g5. I don't, something like that.
Sure.
So,
Sure, that
all right,
knight was a good target where it was. And now it's moved to knight takes g2, which, now the g2 square is weak for white, so black successfully did that. But it's interesting having a knight on g2. That is not a usual spot for a knight to be. So this should be interesting. Black plays knight e5, so moving their queen's knight closer to the action. And then knight f4 is what white plays. Makes sense, but still can be targeted with g5. And then where's it going to go after pawn g5? Is it trapped?
I'm trying to do some pairing on the under 600
Sure.
real quick.
It's trapped. If black plays g5 right here, then the knight is trapped. But black plays queen f5, and then the knight has to go back to g2. Yeah, then knight g4. Black's really in charge here. h3. Knight goes back. So. White plays g4, attacking the queen. And here, there's a whole bunch of things attacking the g pawn. Black's got two knights attacking the g pawn and a queen. And you have to be thinking sacrifice here. Let's see if black does it. And indeed they do. Knight e takes g4, hx g4, knight takes g4. So now white is missing two of the pawns that are supposed to be defending that king. Let me go ahead. King h1.
And Chris, in the meantime, I am. It seems like I might be stuck in the over 1200. I'm trying to pair the next rounds. Oh, I see what I did. I was over the over 1200 tab. So I'm going to pair the under 600 round 2.
Okay.
Sorry about the delay. Sorry about that delay, everybody, on that one.
Well,
so now I'm going to get.
That's why we're practicing. That's exactly.
Get back to the round 1. Okay. So now I'm going to pair the 600 to 1199. All right.
So
I have to check the tab.
King h1 is a very sad move for white. I'm not sure why you would play king h1 there, other than it is a blitz game, so you're wanting to play a little bit faster. But that's putting the king in a semi-open file, and now black's queen can move to h5, say check. King goes g1, and then queen h2 should be checkmate. Let's see if that happens. Boom, 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 and in your ear checkmate, as Coach J likes to put it. And
yeah.
In your ear checkmate. Let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and pull up another game. This is fun looking at. Let's see.
All right, I am going to pair round 2. We didn't have Jose Cruz show up, and now I've learned that I could have started his clock. So
we're learning.
I will do that.
Yeah, this is great.
I will do that next time. So. All right, so in our 600 to 1199 section, okay, so standings.
You guys might need to declare something on the 6th
right
round because one game hasn't started yet.
One game has not started, Megan says. In the
right, that's what I'm trying to. I'm gonna pair it anyway. The next round.
Mm-hmm.
Savish and Jose Cruz. You guys
Jose Cruz didn't show up.
Okay.
For that, since it hasn't gone, so the next
okay.
round can't start. Everyone else seems to be done.
I went ahead and just started the next round, Chris. If you can let Megan know.
Sure. He went ahead and just started the next round.
And then Jose Cruz, I'm going to go to that game and I'm going to start the clock.
There you go.
And So Noah, I'm not sure if Jose is going to show up, Noah. So I'm going to start the clock, and then that way in 5 minutes Jose will run out of time.
Yeah,
In the meantime,
we'll give him another round, and then
yeah,
in between we can remove him if he doesn't show up after 2 rounds.
right.
Okay, I'm gonna look. I'm gonna totally switch gears here and go to the under 600. I like to spread the love around, um, and you know what? I'm gonna take a look at Eden round one. Eden F versus Zachary Kuhn. Let's see what happened in
Okay.
that game. This should be fun.
That was 31 move game.
It was 31 moves, and we go back. And it starts E4, E5, D4. Okay, maybe a Danish gambit. And then F6. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not a good way to defend E5. Playing
Yeah,
F6.
that's bad because after the pawn takes back, pawn captures. Then if the F pawn takes, Queen H5.
Bam, bam. Yep.
So
And that's a check and a fork. Let's see. I haven't tried drawing arrows or anything in this. I wonder if I can do that. Let me.
I'm trying it.
No.
I'm trying it right now.
Nope.
That's funny.
There might be. I should look in the user manual and see if there's a way to. I don't think there is, but that's okay. I can move my mouse arrow. So what Jay was saying is DX E5, FX E5, and then Queen H5, Chekaruski, and the Queen's threatening E5. All right, so we go ahead. Pawn C3 is what White plays. So now that tactic is still available unless Black does something about it. Black plays Knight C6.
Guards against that tactic.
Which guards against that tactic, but the that H1 to E8 diagonal is still trouble. And also if Bishop C4 comes out, that's also trouble for Black because then they're going to have trouble castling. But White plays Bishop D3, so maybe missing the best square for that bishop by just one move. If they play Bishop C4, then you're pretty much making sure that Black's staying in the center of the board for a long time. Black plays Bishop D6. So basically Black's using their bishop as a pawn with that kind of move. And bishops are worth 3 points, so we prefer not to place them in a pawn chain. Use them as a pawn. White plays Knight F3. That's a good move. And Black plays Knight G to E7. I need to stop and look at my checks, captures, and threats because, yeah, Black's opening leaves possible tactics for White, but our bishop's on the wrong square. If the bishop was on C4, we might be able to use some of those tactics. White plays Bishop E3. So what White is doing good is they have 2 center pawns, and they have 3 pieces developed. What White has not done is take advantage of the early mistake of pawn F6 with the tactic that Jay mentioned, and also placing the bishop on a more aggressive square of C4.
Right. Yes. Instead of Bishop E3, yeah, Queen B3 or Bishop C4 would have caused some trouble. The only problem with Bishop C4 is that Black gets to answer Knight to A5.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And chase the bishop right off the diagonal.
Yeah.
But then it's there's other things that could happen. But well let's cruise.
So Black
pick up our pace a little bit.
Yeah, Black castles, and that's a good move. And then White plays the Bishop C4 check, and King H8. You never want to have your king stuck in a corner like that. That starts to give some of these mating possibilities.
Yeah, already you're seeing ideas of knight getting to G6 check and the pawn taking, and then a corridor mate, the queen or rook going to the H file for mate.
Yep, already. Knight A3.
Mm,
That's
not a fan of
the
that.
wrong
I think that knight,
direction. The king's on the other side of the board. So,
yeah, that knight should go to D2, F1, G3.
yeah.
I know it sounds like a long plan, but you have time for that because black's not getting the pieces out quickly.
And then black takes. So black trades a bishop that wasn't very effective. It was a bishop that was like a pawn for a knight that wasn't very effective. Seems like a fair trade.
That's funny.
BXA3, and then knight G6 is what black plays. Black's getting a little bit more organized now. And then D5. So the center is going to stay closed. This D5 push is interesting because it threatens the knight. The knight can't. I guess the knight does have the knight A5 move, which let's see what they do. If they go knight E7 or knight A5, they play knight C to E7. What do you think about that, Jay? Would you have played knight A5 there?
I'm catching up to you. I was doing a quick check on our progress of our rounds. Okay, so yeah, so here instead of knight G6, you're saying?
No. I'm on move 10. White plays pawn to
Okay.
D5.
Okay, gotcha. Yes. Oh, right. I see what you're saying. The only problem with knight A5 is that once the bishop moves,
Yeah,
where does your knight go?
exactly. This is what I was thinking too. You get the initiative for just a moment, but then White's going to play bishop B5, and then where can that knight go? Nowhere.
Yeah, I think this move is good because it supports a pawn push that is really necessary. First, black needs to play D6, which I'm taking a gander ahead and seeing that that's what he's going to play.
And then F5.
Yep. So yeah, so white castles. Black does play D6, and now
rook to B1.
And sure enough,
good. And then
good job by
black plays F5. Eden. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's Zachary. Zachary played F5, a great move.
Oh, it was Zachary. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
See, this is why I got to practice. Yeah, Zachary Kuhn. Excellent. He was tangled up, but now all of a sudden things are making sense. Things are making sense for black. Knight G5.
Okay.
So if white didn't have that pawn on D5, they would be pretty happy. But they do have the pawn on D5. So one thing black does not want to do is play pawn C6. Black plays pawn H6. Does not want the knight hanging out near the king, apparently. And then knight to E6. And then we would expect black to trade here, because that knight is very dangerous. It's forking the queen and rook. And Zachary does not. He plays queen E8. So here he could have traded a bishop he wasn't using yet for a knight that is white's star piece. Would you have played that trade there, Jay?
Yeah, I would have played it, but it's kind of an interesting thing if we think about it, right, Chris? That this that knight is really powerful, and the rook on F8 is only okay. It's pretty good. It has to support that pawn, but that bishop on C8 could be an important part of his attack. So, but yeah, I would have made the trade just because of point value, and then I would have considered to play F4. So instead of moving the queen, bishop takes knight at E6,
pawn takes
D
back,
takes bishop, and then F4 to gain some space over there, and then I'm pretty sure you could win that pawn on E6 within a few moves.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty vulnerable.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna check on our other.
Sure, I'll keep going.
rounds.
I'll keep going while you do that. So then, boom, knight takes C7, and there's the big fork, forking the queen and rook. Nicely done, Eden. A knight in the 6th rank is as good as a knight can get. We talk a lot about rooks in the 7th, but if you get a knight to the 6th, especially on with the support of a pawn like Eden had, then these types of tactics start appearing. Queen goes to D7, knight takes rook, so there's 5 points, a 5-point shift. But is it really going to be a 5-point shift? Probably not, because that knight is stuck in the corner.
7 rounds, right?
It is 7 rounds.
Yes.
B6. Great, Ro. Can you get me some coffee, please? Say hi to our fans. Rosalea just woke up.
Hey, Rosalea. Good morning.
Couldn't get back to sleep, so I've been watching Netflix.
Okay, she woke up at 8:30, she says, and's been watching Netflix.
Is that your siblings being so loud upstairs or your cat?
That would be my cat because I think Lily's in her room and I let Leo downstairs because
Okay.
he just happened to be at the gate.
Rosalea, if you're not going to be on camera, then it's rude to be on microphone. Okay.
All right.
There we go.
We have 2 games still remaining out of our 5 games in the under 600 section, I think it is, and then in the 600 to 1199. So those games are getting late. So if you are in the middle section, the 600 to 1199, your next round will probably start very soon because these guys are running low on time. 2 players under 20 seconds. And so I think that next round is coming. And I'm going to pair the next round in the under 600. So we're pairing round 3 now in the under 600. And, oh, hold on. Let's get to the right tab, Jay. There we go. Okay. All right. So, guys, good luck in round 3 for the under 600.
And
right.
while you were doing that, I went ahead and peeked at the rest of that game by Eade F. and Zachary Kuhn. I'm really impressed with their level of play. They may have been in the bottom section of our tournament, but their level of play was pretty good. And Eden used good technique at the end with the making that queen and rook pawn roller. So good job, you two. Thanks for helping us out, by the way. Everybody who's playing today is helping their coaches out, Jay or I. Making sure we're more comfortable and more knowledgeable next week. So I really appreciate it.
All right, and I am going to pair round 3 for the 600 to 1199. We just had Jeevan finish up his game with Sarvesh. Jeevan won that game with a queen roller, and now we're pairing round 3 for the 600 to 1199. Good luck, guys.
And I haven't even looked at a game from that one yet, so let me look at round 2, see what I might look at.
Great.
Let's see. You were just talking about one of the games, right? Sarvesh and Jeevan is what you...
Yeah, I was.
Okay,
yes.
we'll take a look at that since you gave us a little foreshadowing.
Great. Perfect. And Tyler, it's funny, but Tyler Tenoya and Jose Cruz are paired with each other. Not surprising, because neither one is actually online. So
okay.
I'll start their clock.
So
not sure how to drop them out.
E5. Now that brings up an interesting thing. Jay, this
yes.
might be fun for some of our viewers. By the way, this is the Daily Chess Musings YouTube channel. My name is Chris Torres. This is Jay Stallings. We have both been doing chess for a very long time in California. So I have a fun question for Coach Jay. If this was an over-the-board tournament, and it's time for the round to start, and both players aren't there, what would you do as the tournament director?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So over the board tournament, neither player is there. So, in my tournaments, I typically ask one of my assistant directors to keep an eye on the board. If one player shows up, then we can get the clock started. If they both show up, then we have to take some time off. But I guess if one player shows up, we'll need to remove some time because we don't want that game to go so long that it messes with the next round.
Exactly. Yeah. So when one player shows up, then what the tournament now we can make this even more complicated. This is fun.
Oh no.
So if what would be kind of fun is if the let's see.
Well, if they both showed up at the same time, we'd have to take equal amounts of. You look at the board next to them, and you see how much time has gone. Maybe one player's used
Sure.
5 minutes, and the others used 9 minutes. So that's a total of 14 minutes. So you would take 7 minutes off of each player's starting time and get them going.
And then if
Something like
the follow-up question I had is if the player is white who shows up, if only one of the two players shows up and that player is white, then you would make it so that there is 7 minutes missing from each clock, and then allow the player as white to make their move and then press their clock. Correct, Jay?
Right. Yeah. Have white make their move, push the clock. Now, I have. Well, back when I was young, I played chess back in the 70s, and they gave you 2 options as white. Because we didn't have clocks that were tied to the clock couldn't track how many moves you made. So with the clock, you could start it as white without making your first move. And the idea was that if you made your first move and then started the clock, then if your opponent saw your first move from across the room, but they weren't at the board yet, then they could feel like they could go, oh my goodness, it's the English opening. I'm going to go research the English opening really quickly before they come to the board. So they would allow you to start your opponent's clock, and then when black did arrive at the board, black would hit the button back to start your clock, and then you make your move and get going with the game. But I'm not sure if they still have the rule that way. So
yeah.
All right, and some quick housekeeping, Coach Chris, is that I wanted to mention that it looks like Dice Knights is disconnected. So Shriyansh, Shriyansh probably noticed I started Dice Knights clock a little bit late, but now we did get that started, and so it's ticking down to 3 minutes now, and so game should finish on time. In the meantime, it looks like all of our other games are still going on in all the sections. Either games are going on. Oh yeah, we have one more game in the top section. Caden and Ved are still battling it out. They're on move 24. The other 2 games are finished. So in any case, we'll get things started. I'm trying to keep an eye on that to get things started as quickly as possible, because we said that we're going for 2 hours, but it's possible we'll just go an hour and a half, depending on how quickly the games finish and how quickly I'm able to pair them. So all right. So yeah, so it is interesting when players don't show up and how you have to deal with that and get the clock started and that kind of thing. So typically in a regular tournament, you would withdraw the players. So Coach Chris and I are doing a seminar next week. We're attending a seminar in which we're going to be learning more about Tornello in preparation for our big event. And so that seminar is coming from Australia. We'll be watching that and learning so that we'll be ready and better prepared for you guys next week. And one of the main things I want to ask is, how do I drop a player out of this? So
I
want to make sure I can know how to drop somebody out, and then also if they are signed up for the tournament, is there a button I can push to send an email to everybody that's signed up for the tournament to give them some details?
Yeah,
so
there is a very good user manual for Tornello that is freely available to everybody. If you just Google Tornello user manual, and it has a great table of contents, all with clickable links, so you can speed ahead to that section. I think it's like 165 pages, and so it's very it's very in detail. However, you shouldn't be intimidated by the 165 because a lot of it is also screenshots. So it's 165 with big screenshots, things like that. But what I found handy is using the find on this page. So since it's the whole manual is basically one giant page, you can use in your browser the find on this page and type in the word you're looking for. So in this case, it could be drop. And
Gotcha.
then just zip on through. I really, it's really cool to have it that way. I wish, we were just talking about USCF rules. It would be great if the USCF rule book was that way, and then tournament directors could look up any of these weird situations like Jay and I were just talking about. Back to that game between Jeevan and Sarvesh. I want to give them some attention here. They started e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. So we've got a Italian. And then Sarvesh plays castle, which is a fine move. Obviously, well, maybe not obviously for everybody. A favorite of Paul Morphy's there would be pawn b4, the Evans Gambit. Greco, Gioacchino Greco is famous for pawn c3, setting up pawn to d4, so white could play pawn c3, black could play knight f6, and then d4. And then nowadays, a lot of the top players who play the Italian aren't using the pawn c3 as much. I think Rosolimo was probably the last of the top grandmasters to be playing that regularly. They've switched to pawn d3 in that situation. Certainly castling is not a mistake, but very, very conservative. So it's black plays pawn d6, and I really like that response to white castling, because then black can maybe get the bishop to g4 and the knight to d4 and expose white's king.
Yeah, that's good, and white sees your idea, Coach Chris.
Plays the h3 immediately. Black plays knight f6. The reason I don't I don't like the h3 immediately there is number one, if you allow black to play that early pin, then you get a chance at the Legal's mate, possibly. And number two, it takes time on a pawn move. And so now black has 3 pieces developed, and white only has 2.
In black, Jeevan playing black here played knight to f6, and I've seen this position. You and I have played a lot of games against our students, so we have games against all different levels of players, and so I've seen this exact position before. And one move that's interesting to consider for black is f5.
Wow!
And the idea you have that pawn chain, and the bishop's aiming underneath the pawn chain, and white is already castled kingside, but black is not. So you can play f5 with the idea that f4 is coming next and get a King's Indian defense style attack underneath the pawn chain, castle queenside for black, and get things rolling. So, like as you pointed out, because that move h3 doesn't develop a piece or doesn't fight for the center like c3 would, then you can likely get away with f5 and be happy. I love the idea of pushing my f pawn if my king is safe.
Yeah.
So
well,
okay. Quick housekeeping.
Sure.
It looks like. All right. So yeah, we have games in the. We are in round 4 in the top section, and finishing up round 3. Now we just have one game left in round 3 in the middle section, and then our under 600 section also just has one game left between Pratish and Fook. Wong in that one. So that one, we're about to start round 4 and the 600 to 1199 and the under 600. So I apologize if you finish your game and then I start the next round right away. Now, once I start the next round, I'll look to see who it was that was playing the last game and give you a couple minutes in case you need to run to the restroom. So I can see that Jeevan and Sean are still battling it out. So when I start the next round, if you don't join your game right away, I'll give you a couple minutes, Jeevan and Sean, before I start that next game. And same thing for our final game going on in the under 600 between Pritish and Fook. So, and that one's a long game. It's at move 61 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a long game.
So, all right. Sorry.
No problem. No, that's exactly, this is exactly, you know, Jay and I are going to be getting into the flow. In a lot of ways, I know Jay's a baseball fan as well. If you ever listen to baseball, they always have two commentators, right? One's doing play-by-play and color, right?
Right.
And so we need the updates on the tournament as it's going, as well as the kind of the color commentary of what happened in the some of the interesting games of the previous round. And next week,
Coach Chris,
next week we'll have a lot of time to do that because the games are slower. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I was going to say this game with Jeevan. I think we're on move 5, and it's a 61 move game or something like that. So it's
okay.
Or 63. So we can kind of cruise through and hit some highlights here if you'd like.
Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and call moves out quickly. D3, Black Castles, Bishop G5, and then H6. Threatening the bishop. There's no knight on c3 yet, so h6 wasn't necessary to play right away, but it certainly isn't bad. Bishop h4, pawn to g5. Sometimes here you can, especially in a blitz game, play knight takes g5, hx g5,
right.
Bishop takes g5 gives you a ready-made attack.
That's dangerous.
Bishop g3. Which is the usual response, of course, but it makes the bishop passive for some time. Knight d4. So the knight on c6 moves closer to Black's king. If I'm white here, I might even play pawn c3. Let's see if they throw that in. Pawn c3. Good job, white. Knight takes.
Yeah, I agree.
Knight takes f3. Queen takes f3. Bishop e6.
So, Chris, let's stop there, because when the queen captures at f3, we have a really good hook for black, right? A hook is when you can push your pawns up and you've got something to attack so they can't ignore it. And it seems to me that that playing pawn to g4 right now is definitely something that should be considered by Jeevan to
absolutely.
Break that pawn structure. If the pawn takes, bishop takes back, trapping the white queen, totally trapped. The queen is lost. And if the pawn doesn't take and the queen runs away, then pawn takes h3. So I think pawn to g4, I think wins a pawn and breaks open the king side.
So in actuality, queen taking back with the queen, normally you do want to take back and develop a piece. But in this case, it would have been better to take back gx f3 and then plan on moving your king to h2 and then rook g1. So you make use of your semi-open file to kind of put pressure back on black. So the automatic taking back with the queen, developing a piece actually is a punishable mistake, as Jay just pointed out. And Jay, remind me, what is the time control on these games?
5+3.
Okay, so something that's interesting to note is that Sarvesh is down to 15 seconds, so he's going to be living on increments for a while. You said this is a long game, so he let a lot of time expire early in the game, and it's not a terribly complicated situation. So now he's going to be forced to play through the complications very rapidly. So black plays bishop e6 instead of g4. So we found a really nice improvement for black there next time. White decides not to trade bishops, and I probably agree with that, because if you trade bishops there, then you're putting your queen in a open file with a rook, right? You're allowing black to move that pawn out of the way. So bishop takes b3, ax b3, of course. Pawn to d5.
All right, round 4 starting now in the under 600, guys.
Yeah, that sound effect you guys hear, that means that a new round is starting, right, Jay?
It's you know what? That's good to know.
It's a really cool sound effect. I really like it. It's very retro 1980s video games, Nintendo. There's a lot to like about this site, that's for sure. Bishop takes e5. Yep, that's what I was just going to comment. The pawn d5 was a mistake because it's leaving e5. You know, I was double checking before I said it, looking at all the checks, captures, and threats. But yeah, it is just a mistake.
Chris, 2 things. First, has the under 600 started?
Has the under 600 started?
Yes.
It has.
Okay.
Under 600, round 4.
Second, arbiter call. A pop-up appeared on the screen saying that I lost by checkmate and I wasn't even in check.
Arbiter call on which board?
Yeah, what game was that?
Board 302, round 3.
Board.
Okay.
Eden F was black and Matthew Chrome was white.
Eden F and Matthew Chrome.
Round 3.
So
Round 3.
Board 302.
Okay, so the queen, maybe she didn't see the move, but white played queen to b7 for the checkmate.
Yeah, white played queen b7 for the checkmate in that game. She may have been she may have clicked back one move when it finished, right? By accident with the mouse. And then so then
that was to let Eden know that was the final move for Eden's game, is that
queen b7
Matthew
checkmate.
Queen b7 mate.
Yeah, so you can I think message Eden that.
Yeah.
So this is useful too. This is what I was discussing with Jay before we went live on the air. I've got my wife Megan on the other computer, so that if need be, if there, let's say there's 2 arbiter calls simultaneously next week, we'll be able to handle that, and still keep the stream going. All right, so we are fully staffed. King g7 defends. Important to defend f6, but it is pinned to the king. And then white plays d4, and then bishop d6. So bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes. Now if king takes, you got a fork. Let's see. King takes, and then there's the pawn fork. So this is a fun game. They call
it is. Wow.
They call the Italian the quiet game. But it can certainly get pretty loud. Loud. Bishop takes e5.
Nice combination. That bishop takes at f6, queen takes, and then e5.
Yeah, we're seeing some really good play. Never underestimate your opponent simply because you see a rating next to their name. Always assume that your opponents are going to play incredible chess.
Yeah.
And then if they don't, you're just pleasantly surprised. But always assume that they will. King takes e5. So at least there's no queen on the board.
Right.
Yeah, if there is a queen on the board, that king would just be in a lot of trouble. Knight goes to d2, so white's rooks are unified. King gets some cover. White takes a open file. Very nice job, white. And then black challenges for the open file. Probably didn't need...
Not a good move.
Yeah,
rook a e8 is a mistake because white can trade rooks,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think grab the A7 pawn,
Mm-hmm.
and even though there's rook E2, I think white would be happy to make some trades there. So
Absolutely. I was just going to say the same thing because white's ahead. White's ahead by a minor piece, and the king was guarding the 7th rank. So even though white had the open file, white couldn't do anything with it right away. And so trading rooks here just gets white closer to even more easily won endgame. Pawn to c4. So white misses the best move there is to trade when you're ahead. Simplify. Just don't get too fancy. Get to an easy one endgame. And black plays pawn c6. So if white ends up exchanging this pawn for a pawn, they're actually giving black a passed pawn, which you don't want. You want to take away your opponent. I doubt that passed pawn's going to cause too much trouble for white, but you don't want to give it to them either. And white ignores it for a moment, plays g3. So still not trading the rook, still missing the main. When you're ahead material, when you're ahead a piece, trade, right?
right.
All right. So yeah, white's missing that, and now let's see. We're skipping ahead. I need to let Jay know which move I'm on. I forgot about that. Yeah,
I'm at you A6, and that's good by Jeevan to save his. So I'm on move 23 for black. A6 is now protecting his A pawn, and white's continuing right with the F pawn push over on that side.
Yeah.
And now a little bit careless by Jeevan, right? Plays B5, or if you're with me. So
yeah. And then we skip ahead to 28. Rook takes A6 check, and then King C7, and then certainly, I mean, when is white gonna do this trade of rooks, if ever? And so now the king's back on b8. We're moving to move 30, and still no trade of rooks. White is doing everything they can not to trade pieces, even though they're ahead material. You want to take away your opponent's chances to get back in the game. Black's got a potential protected passed pawn now, and we didn't need to let them have that. And we certainly don't need to let them have 2 rooks. They could be down to 1. Take away your opponent's chances to cause you trouble.
And that sound you heard was round 5, starting in the top section, the over 1200 section. And in that section right now, Johannes has a perfect 4-0, followed just 1 point behind by Dan Merriman and Caden Gyo, who are just right there behind. So it's a good tournament going on, and entering round 5 of 7 in the over 1200. Just 2 games remaining in the 600 to 1199 before I pair the next round, including the top board game in that section, and then just 1 game remaining, also on top board in the under 600 section. So some big games going on as we finish up round 4 in the 600 to 1199 and the under 600 section.
I think one thing that I'm going to do a little bit better next week. I mean, things are moving faster because we're doing Blitz. But one thing I'm going to do a little bit better during the big event is go and click on the standings a little bit more often, and make sure especially between games, especially before I switch to a different game, go to the standings and update the viewers on what's happening. Again, this is the Daily Chess Musings channel. My name is Chris Torres. I am joined by Jay Stallings. We are running a practice tournament to get ourselves prepared for next weekend, the Eade Foundation Spring Scholastic Chess Classic. If you are a young chess player or a parent of a young chess player, it is a wonderful opportunity to play in a prestigious chess tournament from the comfort of your own home. We will be live streaming the event next weekend. That is Saturday, May 22nd. We will be live streaming the event. It only costs $20 to enter, and it is such a worthy cause. It is such a worthy cause. The Eade Foundation does so many great things around the world. And next week we will also be joined by FIDE Master James Eade, so he can tell us a little bit more about his foundation in person. But the important thing is, go ahead. If you've joined this broadcast or you watch it later during this week, go ahead and sign up. It's really easy to do at dailychessmusings.com. Just go to dailychessmusings.com. You'll see the sign up for the Eade Foundation Spring Scholastic Chess Classic. It has all the information on the tournament, and you can join us next week. It's good for players of all levels. School-age players of all levels are more than welcome to join. All right, so
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's great, Chris, to play in a tournament that's a fundraising tournament because, I mean, just think about this. You playing next week is going to help disadvantaged students be able to play in places like Africa. So it's that would be really great if you can make that contribution and play next week in the tournament. And we have prizes that'll be going out as well. So
yep.
This tournament, we don't have any prizes except you're being proud of yourself for doing the best you can. And but otherwise, next week we do have plaques that will get mailed out to our top finishers.
Yep. We're going to give away 20 prizes in each section, including plaques and medals. So next week, and it is USCF online rated, and USCF's done a great job, United States Chess Federation, of even creating a top 100 list for online ratings. So you can come play, maybe get yourself on a different top 100 list if you haven't tried online rated chess. And with the system we're using on Tornello, it's really advanced. It's really cool. So, for example, if the cheat detection is top of the line, it uses Dr. Kenneth Reagan's system that he's developed, and it allows us as tournament directors, if we think something dishonest is happening, we can have that game immediately reviewed for an unfair advantage, and we even have the option of having it deeply reviewed. All games will be checked for fair play before we submit it for official rating and mail out the awards. And so it's just a really awesome way to help people in, like Jay was saying, in disadvantaged areas get access to chess by doing what you want to do anyways. You want to play chess. You would probably be playing chess because you love chess. You'd probably be playing it on a Saturday anyways. Might as well do it and help out others to love the game as well.
Very good. And Chris, quick little update. We have a number of players who are playing from India, and I think that a lot of them just had to start their chess class, their Sunday morning chess class, because a few of them are not connected, and that's just a guess on my part.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple players that left our connection, so it's very possible that they had to get started with their class at the top of the hour.
They're 12 and a half hours ahead of us.
So the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, it would be very, very late for them right now. It would be. It's 10:30 p.m. This evening. Jay and I both teach players, from a lot of different regions. I know, I've taught students in the middle of the night. Chess is a global game, and the neat thing with the algebraic notation is it's now a global language. Everybody who plays chess understands this notation that I'm pointing to with my mouse right now. So even if you don't understand somebody's um, native tongue, you can express your ideas in chess. Let's see. So white actually did eventually trade rooks, and that makes it a little easier. I'm on move 36, rook b5 check. But black has a rook behind a passed pawn. So it's not a done deal yet. And I'm going to skip ahead, move 37. White's checking black's king, but black's king's moving forward. Black's king wants to be active in this endgame. And then that's interesting. White decides to... Did they just sack... They sacked a knight for a pawn there. And it...
Okay, so Coach Chris, interesting thing. Now that everybody's played each other in the top section, I have to manually pair them. So I am going to try to figure out how to do that very quickly. So you guys, top section, hang on while I try to manually pair you for round 6.
Yep, and remember the big tip was have the user manual and then just search for what you're looking for.
Let's see.
All right, so that was very interesting to sack the knight, but in effect, giving the rook. Black does it properly. Doesn't take the knight, takes the rook. So now all of a sudden, it looks like black is going to win this game between Sarvesh and Jivan. And again, Jivan could have simplified a lot earlier and taken away chances for counterplay. That's what that's what Sarvesh wants to work on in the future before the big tournament next weekend. So the pawn is now on d4. It's just 3 squares away. d3, d2, and black got its queen. Wow, big comeback by black. Big comeback. Remember, black was a full piece down in this endgame. Big comeback. And there's the nice rook roller technique with the 2 queens. This was a fun game to look at for a couple reasons. I really liked Jay's early thought on that pawn f5 move. But the big one that Jay and I both picked up on was the pawn g4 hook move that we discussed, and then the most important point from this game that we can learn is the importance of simplifying when you're ahead. The importance of simplifying and taking away the counter chances of your opponent. Don't let your opponent hang around and have, if you can remove their threats, if you can trade pieces, then you're going to be securing your win and get that full point. If you let your opponent hang out too long with some threats or extra pieces, there's a higher probability that something bad could happen and they end up making a comeback and beating you. So, when you're in the driver's seat like Sarvesh was, next time, Sarvesh, if you're watching this video, trade the rook sooner. Trade the pieces as soon as possible. And don't create extra complications. You were pushing some of your pawns forward, creating extra tension here and there, but it allowed black to create a passed pawn. trade the rooks and then have the extra knight for the end game, get your king active, and get the full point win. I'm going to check on the standings real fast because I haven't, like I said, that's something I want to do better.
So in the meantime, I am having difficulty pairing round 6 for the over 1200 because I have to manually pair, and I did not anticipate that one coming.
Well, this is why we're doing the practice.
And then running into the same problem in the under 600 as well. So.
And this is because we have more rounds scheduled than there was players to make the Swiss possible, right?
Right, and seeing that now, I realize what I could have done was changed it to like a double round robin or something.
Or a Luton, yeah, probably. Switch, yeah. See, Swiss, for those of you who don't know, the Swiss style tournament is the most popular style for tournament directors. And again, what a Swiss style does is you have a list of players, highest rated being on top, lower rated being down here. If you have 100 players, then player 1 plays player 50. And they're paired like that. Player 2 plays 51. So on and so forth. And what ends up happening is after that round's played, then, a high percentage of those players will have wins and losses. Somebody will have 1 point, somebody will have 0 points. So you pair the ones against each other, you pair the zeros against each other in the same way. Now, the rules that tournament directors run into that are tricky in small Swisses. Here's the 2 rules that are real bugaboos for us. Players can't be black more than 2 times in a row. So you can only be black a second time in a row. You can't be black a third time. That's one rule. And the other rule is you can't play the same player twice. So when you have a section, as Jay has right here, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, and there's 7 rounds, somebody's going to have to play another player a second time. But the Swiss system will not allow that to happen. And the other thing that you run into is the color situation. Sometimes when you have such a small pool of players, you end up with 2 players, the only 2 players who have that particular score, whatever that score is, and they've both been black the last 2 rounds in a row.
Okay.
And so then you have to pair players of different scores, sometimes widely different scores, to avoid this 3-time black in a row problem, and that kind of spoils your last round, because then you don't have the top players playing against each other for the championship. There are other kinds of tournaments. Like I said, Swiss is the most popular because it tends to be the fairest. Players of the same score are playing each other, and you can't be black too many times in a row. So it's nice and fair. However, round robins, when you've got a small group like this, you can run it as a round robin, just like they did at the candidates, right? The FIDE candidates was a round robin style. And then there's another style tournament that's like Swiss, that's not as popular, and it is called a Luton Style. And it allows players to be paired against each other twice if they are the only players of that particular score group. So, for example, if only 2 players, if there's only 2 players who have 3 points, they can play each other again. Or if you don't have enough players in the section. So sometimes the Lutons can be a little bit more flexible. But generally, Swiss is the style tournament that you're going to see when you go and play chess tournaments, unless it says otherwise. Unless it says like a quad, which is a round robin. If it's a big tournament if you're going to such and such open tournament wherever in the United States, it's going to be a Swiss tournament, and that's the style that we're using here. Were you able to figure something out for that group, or are you still stuck there?
I did. I did manage to find a way. It does have an edit, the little edit icon next to the second person, and instead of the second person being by, now I can start typing in the name of one of the other players in the section, and it will it starts to search, and then I can click on them. So
nice. So it's a manual override thing. What's going on,
Manual.
Megan?
Someone asks, what does Bush mean in the standings?
What does Bush mean?
B-U-C-H.
B-U-C-H in the standings.
Oh, that's their tie breaks.
Oh, that's the tie breaks. I wonder what it stands for. B-U-C.
Yeah, Buchholz.
What's that?
It stands Buchholz. It stands for BUCHOLTZ, which is one of the tie breaks methods that are used to figure out people with the same score who has the higher tie break. So we have Sean O'Lee right now with a 1 point Buchholz lead over Shreyansh after they just did battle in the last game. Shreyansh was undefeated, and then Sean came through with the victory to catch Shreyansh. So now the standings in that section, after 5 rounds, Sean and Shreyansh both have 4 points, and then at 3 points, Dice Knights, Sophia, and Sarvesh. But Dice Knights and Sarvesh are still playing, so Dice Knights and Sarvesh have a chance to, either one of those. They're battling against each other with 3. One of them, if it's a decisive game, will join Sean and Shreyansh at the top with 4 points. So pretty interesting stuff. In the meantime, top section, we just have 4 players now remaining in the top sections. A couple players had to drop out, and Devin and Dan are battling it out. Johannes still in the lead, and Johannes is playing against Caden, and Johannes is having an excellent tournament, 5-0 right now. So a great start for him. And then in the under 600 tournament, we have Fu Hong is in the lead with 4.5. Matthew Chrome right behind with 4. Pratish with 3.5 in that section. And there's all 3 games are still going on right now in round 6. This is our penultimate round. We've got we have our final round coming up. Oh, and it looks like round 5 just finished, and it is Sarvesh who joins Shreyansh and Sean at the top. I'm going to pair the next round.
Sure.
And Sarvesh and Dice Knights, if you need to take a couple minutes, I won't start your clock for 2 minutes, so you can go and get a quick break.
Awesome. Megan was informing me we had an interesting question. What was that?
What does Bush mean in the standings?
Okay, so we explained that, but maybe they weren't there. You can go ahead and Google, Megan, the Buchholz tiebreak system.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I Googled it and pasted it in there for
Great.
them. So if they didn't see it, they'll see it now.
Yeah.
And Johannes C. In the 1200 plus section said, would you look at my round 2 game? Sorry.
Johannes wants me to look at his round 2 game.
Yes.
I would love to, Johannes. I would love to. Let me look at Johannes's round 2 game. Easy enough to do. I just go to over 1200, click on round 2, and find Johannes Chow versus Dan Merriman, and he wants me to look at it. I would love to.
Wow. So I am not getting an option that's allowing me to pair the next round in the 600 to 1199. So I'm not sure what is happening there, but I thought I'd mention it so that when we come across our seminar, if this happens, it's just not an option.
Oh, which section was that again, Jay?
1200
It's the 600 or middle section, 600 to 1199. It's acting like our tournament is over. It's not not showing us the ability to pair the next round. So
yeah, it's
let me go back
it's
to the log.
yeah, it's because more than likely, once again, it's just a mathematical impossibility to pair it properly using a Swiss. And that,
But it
yeah.
usually it gives me okay. Okay, great. Okay, guys, I think I am pairing. There we go. So 600 to 1199. Finally, round 6 is paired, and good luck to you guys on that. Just had to click back and forth a few times. Those the games in the top section are good battles. They are going back and forth in that section, and then you're looking at Johannes's game from the top section, right, from round 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking at Johannes's game from the top section right now. All right, so E4, Johannes was white. Johannes Chow versus Dan Merriman. Let's take a look. E4, C5, knight F3, and then D6. So we have a Sicilian. Let's see which way he plays. D4, CX D4, knight takes D4, knight F6. Just main Sicilian stuff here. And then black plays A6. Which Sicilian is this again? I get the names mixed up.
Sorry, I'm not with you yet. I'm still checking on the rounds.
Yeah, well, I get the names of the Sicilians mixed up a little bit, you know, the different variations, but this is certainly a common one for black. The idea is it takes away the B5 square from white, and white has a lot of pieces that could and would like to go there. White plays bishop G5, knight B to D7. Hang on one second. Got a pop-up here. Okay, sorry about that. A little bit of a technical issue. And white plays F4. Now that's an interesting early move, especially with black not having played G6 yet.
All right, I'll see if I can catch up to you.
Sure.
Round 2, Johannes, Dan, and you're on move what?
I just moved to move 7, F4. So that should be something Coach Jay likes, because he was saying he likes early F-pawn moves.
I do indeed like this. Now, you know, it's usually I have my bishop on the other side of that pawn structure, because now I'm, you know, your bishop might seem a little awkward there, but it actually, you know, now that I look after H6, the bishop can safely retreat to H4 without having to worry about being assaulted. You know, black is thinking about ideas about E5, but the problem with the E5 is it leaves the D pawn backwards. But because there is a hook, the knight on D4, then maybe when black plays that pawn push, you know, white might feel compelled to play F takes E5. But I think white instead would just retreat the knight and threaten to play F5 and leaving that backward D pawn. And so yeah, I mean, so it's an interesting position.
It's an interesting position. I mean, immediately as black, I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe E5, and then white could play knight F5. But you know, now that I'm really looking, I'm tempted to play like Queen B6. because it activates the queen to a strong square and is kind of in a way punishing white for pushing the f pawn early and having their dark bishop on the wrong side of that pawn. Let's see what black does. Black plays pawn to b5, which that makes good sense. I mean, they're gonna be fianchettoing to bishop b7, obviously. Now white plays queen f3. So white's got 4 pieces developed versus 2, and has more space.
And there's a pretty big threat there, right, with pawn to e5.
Yeah. So this is getting exciting. Black needs to start paying attention to what white's doing for sure. I think I would go ahead and still play the bishop b7 move as black, because it is putting the bishop on the same diagonal as the queen. It wants to fianchetto anyways, and then it's on that diagonal, so it takes away that e5 pawn push that Jay was suggesting.
Well, you are like Nostradamus, because that is actually what happened. Bishop to b7
Yep.
by black, and Coach Chris, we need to come up with a name when you are predicting a chess move, like Nostra Kasparov-Damas or something like that.
Yeah.
something Carlson Damas or Nostra Magnus or something like that. But But in any case,
I was doing a little less predicting there than just agreeing, I guess, with what Dan chose. That would have been the move I played. I try to look at the position, not peek ahead, and I would have played the bishop b7 because I'm afraid of that pawn e5 push, and the bishop wants to go there anyways. And then white castles. Wow. So the rook's in the same file as black's queen. White has now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces in the game. Wow. And then rook c8. That is a slow move, and I'm taking a moment to process it.
Well, it's a rook on the open file. I think black is thinking about queen a5 and a thematic exchange sacrifice maybe, but as you pointed out, white just has this nice lead in development, and I think that's got to make things a little uncomfortable. But I mean, think about rook takes c3, and then suddenly the e pawn is hanging.
It's actually an amazing move. It actually is an amazing move. I would be really uncomfortable as black right now because the king is smothered, and the pieces can't get in. The dark bishop on f8 can't get in. And with white's pawn already on f4, it makes getting that bishop in the game really tricky, because pawn e6 or pawn g6 maybe can be met with f5, and I would be very uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, this rook c8 move that looked like it surely must be a mistake, and then as you're rightfully pointing out, exchanging the rook for the knight, and all of a sudden white's king is very exposed. So if you're white and you notice this, and this is a blitz game, so you might not even be thinking that they would play rook takes c3, but you should analyze all the checks, captures, and threats, or at least try to, especially after a funny move like that. What might you do, Jay?
Well, let's see. I am finishing up the pairings, the final round. I did the pairings manually for the final round for the over 1200. And good luck to you guys in your final round, getting that one started right now. And now I am back to the game. Sorry, took me a second to get caught up to you there.
No worries.
So, all right. So you are.
I'm thinking knight d5 maybe. Black just played this rook c8 move, which I think is a really great move, actually. It goes against a lot of kind of, you know, the basic 10 opening rules, all this kind of stuff, right? It looks like Black's having a really bad game, really bad. And then they play this Rook C8 move, and the more I look at it, the more I like it, especially with the early advances of the A6 and B5 pawns. So I'm thinking maybe Knight D5 just to take that away from them, just to.
Yeah, that's it. The Knight D5 is very interesting, and I wasn't thinking that way, but now it kind of just removes that target, and so yeah, he plays something different.
Let's see, yeah.
I will tell you that.
Okay, so he plays King B1. So now as Black, I like Jay's move. Rook takes C3. Rook takes Knight. Let's see if nope, Knight C5, and that moves the Black Knight closer to White's King. But it takes away the possibility for that neat exchange that we've been talking about, at least for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
White plays Bishop takes F6.
Right. He had to snap up that knight so he wouldn't lose his e-pawn.
Mm-hmm. And one way or another, you know, when Black takes back, they're going to be exposed. Let's see. Yep. So takes back. Takes back. Yeah.
Good point. Either an open king side where he can't castle, or an isolated d-pawn. Those are his choices that he's going to have to put up with.
What I was, you almost said exactly what I was thinking. The either you mess up and you can't castle at all, or you leave your king in this semi-open file and you've got a isolated d-pawn. But the semi-open file, it's a good thing their bishop is on b7, because otherwise White could play that e5 right now. But there's the Knight d5 move, and Black does not want to take this knight right away, even though it's a threatening knight, because it would open up the file on their king. And Black plays Knight e6. This is a good game, Johannes. Thank you for pointing us in this direction. This is an exciting game.
Yeah, a lot of fun themes going on in this game for sure.
So, you know, as Black, let's see, is it? Oh, it's White's move. Yeah, Black just played Knight e6. Is Black? I would be happy if they took, because it helps straighten out the pawns. And not only that, but then you're threatening to take, and when they take back with their rook, you can they have an oddly placed rook that maybe will become a target to your queen really fast. After bishop takes knight and then queen b6 or something. Let's see. White plays queen g4. So that move is threatening e6 a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Nice attacking move, Johannes. I like it. And Black plays knight takes, which is what we expected, and then the rook takes. So this is what I was just talking about a moment ago. Then the bishop takes. Yep, so there we go again with that Noster Kasparov Damas EX D5, and then let's see if queen goes to B6. This is what I predicted. Nope, queen C7. So I had actually just commented on this possibility, and I was thinking that White would play queen to B6, threatening the rook. But of course, if White plays queen B6, threatening the rook, if Black plays queen b6 threatening the rook, White could have just played f5 to defend it. Whereas
or queen takes c8.
Oh my goodness!
The rook with c8 hanging.
Yeah, it would have left c8 hanging. Yeah. So see, that's like the vision when you're calculating out. Sometimes you make a mistake in your mind, which is why rather than relying on what you saw 5 moves ago, you reevaluate the checks, captures, and threats as you go through what you've calculated. You recheck it. All right, because otherwise you might hang a rook.
Right.
Yeah. Rook e4 check. This is a fun game. And then bishop e7.
Of course, yeah.
And then bishop d3, so that if
you had to guard c2 because there was a threat of mate in 2. It was queen takes c2 and then queen c1 mate. So
I think
stops mate.
Yeah, I mean, the bishop guards c2 to stop mate. Plus, when Black castles, then h7's under fire. The queen can easily move to the h file. And if Black tries to block that checkmate with, say, pawn g6, then white has f5 right away.
Mhm.
So let's see if that happens. Black castles, and rook to h to e1. Nice. Stacking the rooks,
Oh, yeah.
threatening to take a queen. Nicely done. So, of course, you got to defend that bishop again. And now there goes that queen h3 we were just discussing a moment ago.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Coach
Sure.
Chris. What's guarding the bishop on e7?
The rook and the queen.
What's guarding the rook on c8?
The queen.
Yeah.
Very good.
And the rook.
Very good. Coach Jay caught a nice tactic. Excellent. Excellent. It's his Hawkeye for tactics. Let's see. So if we go back, let's see how long that. Okay. So after rook f to e8,
rook e8.
So black needed to play rook c to e8.
Yeah, and the only other option was bishop to d8, which is not very appealing.
So rook c to e8 would have made a profound amount of sense, because the bishop takes away the checkmate threat on c2 anyways, and then rook c to e8 means that this tactic doesn't exist. But let me point it out with my mouse, what Jay was saying, because this is a cool tactic. This is a cool tactic. So if rook takes bishop, and then rook takes bishop, and then queen takes rook, then queen takes c8, check. And then queen would have to go to f8 to block, to stop checkmate, exchange of queens, and white would win the endgame. So very nice tactical, very nice tactic there. It looks like things are defended enough if you look at black's position. They have everything's defending everything. But actually, when you go through the process of exchanging pieces, you see how forced moves leave weaknesses. All right, so queen goes to h3, misses the really pretty tactic, but sets up the possibility now for rook takes e7 with that same tactic and threatening queen takes h7. So there are a lot of threats. Black plays h6 to stop the first, but now we can still use the tactic Coach Jay spotted, right? And that is the rook takes bishop again, and then rook takes bishop, rook takes, queen takes, and then queen takes c8 check. It still works. But white plays g4 with the idea of playing g5, totally exposing things, but missing the knockout blow, the quick knockout.
And Coach Chris, I'm going to interrupt you real quickly, just to say congratulations to Fu Huang on winning the under 600 tournament. We have finished our tournament in the under 600, and Fu Huang has 6.5 out of 7, a great tournament. Matthew Chrome with 4 and better tie breaks than Eden, who also has 4. Pratish right behind with 3.5, just a half point ahead of Zachary. Jacob, a valiant effort by Jacob as well, playing in this. So congrats to our under 600 players. And we certainly hope you guys can continue watching our broadcast to learn some more from the other games. And we certainly hope to see you guys in next week's competition as well.
Yeah, I know at least Mr. Huang is signed up for next week's competition. And yeah, he signed up for next week's last night and reached out to me about playing in the practice tournament. So I'm glad he made it. I'm glad he got into
fantastic.
I'm glad he got into practice, because he was a little concerned and wanted to make sure he was doing everything right, and it worked right. So there you have it. He got to play and win his section. Nice confidence builder.
Yeah, nice.
20 pawn g4, so missing the neat tactic but setting up more threats. Then queen to d7. So let's see. This is interesting now. You can't play the immediate pawn to g5. This is interesting now. Let's see. What would I do as white here? I'm taking a moment. Any ideas there, Coach Jay? I'm on move 20, queen d7 for
Okay,
black.
move
Yeah.
20.
It's an
See.
interesting.
Sorry,
White has the edge. We know that. But continuing.
okay, so, So yeah, after h6, that stops back rank mates, but then g4 really trying to break things open here.
I might set up. You know what I might do is switch my, since the H file is no longer as effective of a weapon. I might bring the queen back to e3 and set up that three-piece battery in the E file.
Yeah, it's the tricky thing though is that queen's doing a great job of tying down black's G pawn.
It is.
Which is, if black can get in G6 and then king G7, or G6 and then actually maybe even guard the rook an extra time and retreat the bishop. Black desperately wants to trade off pieces here because white is the one that is attacking, and black's pieces are doing nothing. They're not. They're all too passive here. So, yeah, it is. It's tricky for white, but I'm not sure.
So what would you do? Yeah, so I threw out the queen e3 possibility. What would you play?
That's. I mean, the queen e3 does tie down things even more. So,
well, I mean, it stacks.
Does it win material? I guess queen e3, king f8, right?
Yeah, king f8. It doesn't win material, but it super stacks in that open file, right?
Yeah.
So that but did you have a different idea, or shall we just see what's played?
Yeah, let's go on and check it out.
Oh, queen e3 is played. My goodness.
There you go.
Yeah, awesome. So, Johannes, you agreed with me. And then rook to c7. So that wasn't what Jay and I predicted. We were predicting king f8, because when you move the rook forward like that, now you've created a dangerous situation with the rook on e8. It does not have enough defenders.
Yeah, good point.
White plays h4, really bringing the heat still.
Wow.
The queen can slide back over if it wants to, right?
Here they come.
And black plays king f8. But now it's a little bit different because I wasn't as fond of black's rook being in the there's still not enough defenders to move the bishop. There's still not enough defenders to be able to move black's bishop and trade off pieces safely. And then g5 is played. So that's going to disrupt things automatically because it's putting a pawn that's threatening too. So black cannot bypass this threat. And black bypasses one actually and threatens the rook. That's a good move.
Wait a second. Yeah. Hold on. Can you play G takes h6 right now for white?
After black plays f5?
Yeah, and then if they take your rook, push the pawn.
Interesting idea. I mean, certainly you have to look at all the checks, captures, and threats, and Jay's looking at interesting capture in response to a threat. Let's see.
I think the only problem is they might just ignore it. If you play G takes h6, I mean, they might ignore the rook and just play G takes h6 back.
Then you have queen d4 though.
Yes, you do. Queen d4 threatening mate in the corner.
I think gx-h6 just wins the game. I think it's a game-winning move.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see. gx-h6 is played. Wow.
Oh, brilliant.
Double exclaim. Very nicely done,
wow.
Johannes.
What a move.
Excellent. I really liked his queen e3, and now I really like this. And honestly, in a blitz game, I might not have seen that. Now, your rook doesn't have a lot of space to move. The rook on e4 didn't have a lot of good squares, so maybe you spot it because of that. But that's a double exclaim at least. And then black plays fx e4. Uh-oh. And then there's the pawn. See that? that nice thing. And I seem to recall that there was a chess hoots with a similar motif in it that you showed us during winter camp. I should give the shout out about that as well. Coach Jay is famous. He was the first person. Others are now following, but he was the first to bring chess to Kahoot, and he took chess hoots and has really done a fantastic job of it. You can find out a whole bunch about chess hoots just by simply going to YouTube, searching chess hoots, ChessShootz, or searching it in Google. He has a web page and a YouTube page, and there's some 60 lessons up already.
Yeah, and the lessons are all different levels. So it's a rook and pawn endgames fundamental, rook and pawn endgames at a progressive level, and then rook and pawn endgames challenge. So you can build each skill set and each pattern technique by just going through the fundamental, then the progressive, and then the challenge level.
It's always,
and and if you're already a very strong player, like Johannes here, Johannes might just go straight to the challenge, and if there's anything that's unclear, can go back a step and watch the progressive. And the nice thing is the videos are only like between 5 and 8 minutes,
yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah, so. Honestly, guys, I have gone through and watched. Obviously, I know all the beginner stuff, but I love the way Coach Shea frames ideas. He frames concepts with cool names, like in your ear mate, stuff like this, right? So I went and watched all the beginner level ones. My two of my favorite ones so far is Paul Morphy Goes to Europe. It was a really fun episode to watch, and then there was a Queenie and Square move. The square, what was that one called again?
The square of the pawn?
The square of the pawn in the experienced, I think it was, or in the advanced level.
In a challenge.
In the challenge level
maybe?
It took a simple concept and really took it up to a challenging level. So in particular, those have been two of my favorites. But I have watched all the every single one. There's like 60 of them. I've watched them all. They're only 5 to 8 minutes. And it's fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff.
Oh, great. And now, quick side note, and thank you so much for the promotion on Chess Hoots. Johannes has indeed swept the over 1200. Congratulations. Perfect score of 7-0. Dan takes second with 4 points. Devin and his buddy Caden, they are longtime friends. And Devin and Caden, who live just a half mile from each other, but find each other playing on the internet here in this international tournament, are each with 3 points, tying for third place. Both of them having the same Buchholz tie breaks at 29. For some reason, it has Devin higher, and it could be because maybe Devin won their head-to-head matchup. I'm checking. Let's see, what round did these guys battle in? Was it in round 4? It was. And Caden won their head-to-head matchup. Oh, Caden gets bragging rights for 2021 with Devin. So in any case, congratulations to our top section, our over 1200. Johannes on top. Well done, Johannes.
And especially, thanks for pointing out that game versus the second place finisher. So that was a really good game. And I think, I definitely noticed in their user manual, Coach Shea, that it's very easy to download the PGNs and this and that. So I think, Johannes, I'm going to go ahead and use that tactical shot you did right at the end there after pawn F5. Yeah. I'm going to use that as a puzzle on my Daily Chess Musings website this week. That was really nice. That was a really nice double exclaim level tactic there, and
that's a good point. Yeah. If these guys subscribe to your Daily Chess Musings, they might see one of their own games.
Absolutely. I may even have time to do and analyze that video. I like to I do a lot of videos. Like I covered the candidates tournament that just happened, the FIDE candidates. But what I like to do as well is give the same treatment to the students and players who play in our tournaments, and I call that show "Analyze That." And so
that's great.
I go deep dive through their games, just like I would for Sergei Karyakin or Fabiano Caruana or Magnus Carlsen or Wesley. So any of these guys, same deal. Give you the VIP treatment.
Well, hey, Coach Chris, great news. With 9 minutes to spare on our original schedule, we have finished all 3 sections.
Let me go ahead and show the standings real fast.
So yeah.
So in the over 1200, we've got Johannes Chow, Dan Merriman, and Caden Guo. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody who played. And also it's worth noting that Devin and Ved tied with Caden. They also had 3. In the 600 to 1199, you see it on your screen right now if you're watching our broadcast. Sarvesh got 6 out of 7. Very nice job. Shriyansh, 5 out of 7. Sean O'Lee, 5 out of 7. So there's your top 3. And thank you so much to you guys helped Jay and I considerably. This was fun. It was a good excuse to hang out together again, but it was important for us to actually go through the process of actually clicking. Yes. You can read about using something. It's like flying a drone, right? You can read the user manual on flying a drone. You can watch a YouTube video on flying a drone. But until you actually fly the drone, you aren't practicing with it.
Right. And I did want to point out, Sophia also finishing tied for second.
Oh, yes.
With 5 points. Yeah. 5 points in the 600 to 1199. And Sophia, I know she's been to all of your camps, Coach Chris. So she's that certainly helps to get her strength up there. And Noah, all by himself, right behind that group at 5 points. Noah had 4. And just ahead of Dice Knights and Jeevan Denota. So nice job, guys. Ian Chess, and I'm not sure if that's Ian's real last name, Chess, yeah. But and probably Dice Knights. I don't know. When your kids were born, did you consider naming them Diced? I don't know.
No, anyway, I'm trying to remember now. I remember with when my second daughter was born, Rosalea had what did she want to call Lily?
Strawberry shortcake.
Strawberry shortcake. Yeah, that was the the name.
That's funny.
I asked her what should we name your sister, and she said Strawberry Shortcake. We decided against it. But yeah, an interesting point about Tornello is it's a little bit different than other chess servers, and they want you to use your real names. And the reason is we're running, next week we're going to be running a rated tournament. And so it's just more open. It's more openness, right?
Right.
There's no anonymity in it. And so it creates a more open and honest system. And then the under 600, let's see. Zachary Kuhn. Oh, no, I need to click on the standings. I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah. Mr. Huang, 6.5 out of 7. Matthew Chrome, 4. And Eden F, 4. So there's our top 3 for the under 600. I was very impressed, with the couple peek throughs I took at their chess and the level of chess they were playing. Coach Jay, this was a heck of a lot of fun hanging out with you today.
It was.
We have about 5 minutes left. Why don't you tell us about Chess Hoots?
So Chess Hoots is going through a little bit of an evolution. We are moving from our more daily do it on your own at home challenge to moving into more of our Kahoot party. So the players really love the Kahoot parties where we all come together and I'll have a quick lesson talk about history or something like that, or even warn the players ahead of time on what they need to know. Watch this video or that video. And then I have a Kahoot party that has 3 different chess hoots. And we might do this on a Saturday or a Tuesday night or something like that. And then everybody joins in. And for 1 hour, usually a little bit longer, we go over 3 levels of these chess hoots. And we'll have one that's like a fundamental level, and then usually one that is less about chess strategy, tactics, and stuff, and more about chess in general. It might, who's the world's champion, and how many years was Emmanuel Lasker the world's champion, or things, different things like that.
27 years straight? Is that the answer to that one?
Yeah, 27 years.
Good.
Yeah,
My
wow.
knowledge. I would have scored a point in the Kahoot. There you go. Yeah.
You would have. Nice job. And so anyway, so it has different questions like that, and some fun stuff. And then and then the last one is a more challenging Kahoot. And then we get to see the standings through each one. So it makes a lot of fun when we can have a Kahoot party and everybody comes together. I think our Kahoot parties will get into full swing when the school year ends, and we go into the summer months, because right now there's a lot of people concentrating on finishing up the school year, and different schools finish at different times. One school that I'm teaching, they don't finish until like June 19th or something. I forget exactly, but it's somewhere even past June 15th. Wow. I think it might be, maybe they finish June 17th or something like that. And so then we'll start up our Kahoot parties on a regular weekly basis after that.
Awesome. For those of you who don't know about Kahoot, I have right now, we're looking at the standings, the final standings of the tournament. So what happens in Kahoot is it's similar. Coach Jay will you'll watch a video, and then he'll ask you questions about positions and this and that. And after each question, it shows the standings again. Who got it right? Who got it wrong? And your standings change after each question. As he said, he also has questions about chess history and current chess events and things like this. And they're really, really fun. They're really, really fun. If you haven't used Kahoot, you should mention it to your classroom teacher, because it's a really cool tool that you can use for everything. I mean, you can use it for math, you can use it for history, and Coach Jay's using it for chess, and it's super fun. We did it in our, we debuted what he was doing in our winter chess camp, and I had a blast. It is just fantastically fun. So his videos are excellent, and you should definitely watch his videos. But if you can get into one of the Kahoot parties with Coach Jay, you should do that. You should do that. You should try it out. It's a heck of a lot of fun. And again, thank you, Coach Jay, for joining us today. And this was Jay's idea, by the way. I don't normally wake up this early on a Saturday. This was totally Jay's idea, and there's hardly anybody that I would wake up for. I mean, if the smoke alarm goes off in my house, I'm not going to get out of bed, before 11 on a Saturday. But Coach Jay says, hey, we should practice this. We should do this so we feel better about it. And I said, that's a great idea. So he got me out of bed. I had a lot of fun watching you guys play chess today and hanging out with Coach Jay. I will see everybody next week at the actual big event, the Eade Foundation Spring Scholastic Chess Classic. You can sign up for just $20 on dailychessmusings.com. Bye. See you next week.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one. See you next week.